Semyon Nikolov is joining Lokomotiv, Yuji Nishida might return to the Japanese national team, Masahiro Sekita could sign with Sunbirds, and volleyball might be getting a transfer window. All this and more in today's volleyball news. Drop a like and subscribe, and I'll keep bringing you the latest updates from the volleyball world. And if you're looking for live matches and top league streams, come hang out in my VK group. You can join via the QR code on your screen or the link in the description. Semyon Nikolov is set to join Lokomotiv. The 18-year-old setter will replace Igor Kobzar, even though the club initially showed interest in extending setter's contract. Several reliable sources have already confirmed the transfer, but his father, Vladimir Nikolov, revealed that 4 Italian clubs, as well as one from Poland and one from France, are also interested in his son. The final decision is still up in the air. Is this just a negotiation tactic to secure better financial terms for Semyon, or will this potential star actually skip Russia altogether? Meanwhile, Igor Kobzar is definitely on his way to Dinamo-LO. The 33-year-old Russian setter will leave Lokomotiv at the end of the season and join the team from Sosnovy Bor. Joining him could be Dynamo's Moscow libero, Lauri Kerminen. The Finnish libero, who has been with the club since 2020, is rumored to be making the move to Dinamo-LO as well. As for Dinamo-LO's current libero, Vladimir Shishkin, he's heading to Zenit. The 35-year-old Russian libero will compete with Genia Grebennikov next season. What do you think of this move? Over in Kuzbas, Asparukhov is on his way out. The Bulgarian outside hitter will be joining Polish club Slepsk after the season. Isaac Santos is set to join Praia. The 34-year-old middle blocker is looking to continue his career in yet another Brazilian club. This season he's been playing for Minas. And Minas might lose another key player, Arthur Bento. The 20-year-old Brazilian outside hitter is moving to Modena next season. He's been part of the Minas system since 2019 and now joins one of Italy's most decorated clubs. Nemanja Petric is officially a Partizan player. The former Serbian national team captain has signed with the club after spending years in the Italian Superlega. Serbian media have been reporting on this transfer for weeks, and now the club's head coach has confirmed it. The 37-year-old veteran started the season with Turkish side Spor Toto. Masahiro Sekita's future with Stings is uncertain. The 31-year-old setter has yet to decide on a contract extension, and Sunbirds have been showing interest in him for a few years now. This could be an exciting move. Jan Kadrava might be leaving Olsztyn. The club's management is reportedly unhappy with the Czech opposite and is actively searching for a replacement. One of the main candidates? Bartosz Kurek, despite his high salary demands. Speaking of Kurek, the Polish opposite is on the hunt for a club willing to pay him $750,000 for the next season. The question is, who's willing to meet those demands for a player who will be 37 when the season starts? In other news, the Polish league is considering introducing a transfer window. League officials plan to discuss the idea with 5VB this month. The proposed transfer period would run from May 15th to June 30th, and any negotiations outside this window could result in penalties. The main goal? Keeping the season exciting and preventing transfer rumors from overshadowing the competition. What's your take on the idea of a transfer window in volleyball? Marcelo Mendez might be returning to the Argentine national team. Despite stepping down after the Paris Olympics, the experienced coach is now in advanced talks to take over again next season. The length of the deal is still unknown. Fenerbahce is taking legal action against Galatasaray fans. The club has filed complaints with the Ankara Prosecutor's Office and the Turkish Volleyball Federation after Fenerbahce representatives were allegedly insulted by the home fans during their recent match. Fabio Soli is set to lead Slovenia's national team. The 46-year-old Italian coach will sign a 4-year contract with the goal of qualifying for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. To avoid financial penalties in Italy, he's expected to leave Trentino and focus solely on Slovenia. Is Yuji Nishida making a comeback to the Japanese national team? After announcing a break from international play following the Paris Olympics, the Japanese opposite is now rumored to return as early as this year. The key factor? Laurent Tilly, the new head coach of Japan, who also coaches Nishida at Bluteon and has always rated him highly. In his first interviews, Tilly made it clear that he wants to resolve the Nishida situation as soon as possible. Lube Civitanova is considering moving Nikolov to the opposite position. After his impressive performance in the Italian Cup final as an opposite, the club's management is seriously thinking about making him Edis Lagumdzia's replacement. The stability of outside hitters Matija Botolo and Eric Lepke in the starting lineup supports this decision, as it would maintain the team's attacking power while improving its defense. Do you think Nikolov can thrive in this new role? The Champions League finals are set. The women's finals will take place on May 3-4 in Istanbul, while the men's finals will be held on May 17-18 in Berlin. Who do you think will lift the trophy this year? Chiba has been officially announced as the host city for Week 3 of the 2025 Volleyball Nations League. Karol Butrin has climbed to second place on the all-time Plus Liga Aces leaderboard. The Polish opposite now has 444 aces, but Mariusz Vlaswy still looks untouchable at the top. And finally, love is in the air. Stefan Buaye proposed to his girlfriend. The French opposite from Resovia shared the special moment on social media, wishing them a lifetime of happiness. Let's start our recap as always with Russia. I recently released a video comparing the best leagues in the world, where I mentioned that 3-0 is the most common score in Russia, and this week provided yet another strong confirmation of that. We were hoping for a heated battle between Dinamo-Ural and Lokomotiv, but the home team just couldn't find their best serve on their own court. And without that, they had no real arguments left. A clean 3-0 win for Lokomotiv. A similar straight sets victory, but this time at home and in a much more confident fashion, was claimed by ASK, who are still desperately fighting to stay in the league. This time they took down their direct rival MGTU. Meanwhile, Zenit defeated Nova on the road. Even with a reserve lineup, I don't think I even need to tell you the score. You already know how that one ended. The only match that stood out from the pattern was the clash between Belogorje and Dinamo-LO. This one at least lasted 4 sets and gave us some exciting volleyball. The home team hasn't been showing any real consistency in 2025, which is definitely not helping their fans feel optimistic ahead of the playoffs. On the other hand, the visitors looked solid and put in a strong performance, taking all 3 points from Belogorje. The full results of round 25 of the Russian Superliga are now on your screen. While the battle for first place in the regular season is pretty much decided, the race for a top 4 finish and the fight to stay in the league are definitely worth following closely. The round in Italy kicked off with plenty of energy as Trentino hosted Piacenza, a team that had lost 3 of its last 5 matches. And maybe that's exactly what fired them up to bring their best game against one of the championship contenders. But as we often see in volleyball, when you're up 2-0 in sets, it's easy to lose focus and let the match slip away. And no matter how positively Andrea Anastasi, Piacenza's head coach, spoke about earning a point on the road, it would have been a lot sweeter if they had fought for that point from behind, rather than letting a 2-0 lead turn into a loss. Lube Civitanova was probably hoping for a comeback of their own against Modena, but all they managed was to take 1 set, a surprising win for the home team. Grota Zolina couldn't pull off an upset against Perugia on their home court. The Devils did what they always do, dropped just 1 set before closing out the match. On the bright side, Oleg Plotnitsky made his return to the court, helping out in reception. The full results of round 19 of the Italian Superlega are now on your screens. With their victories, Modena and Cisterna have all but secured their playoff spots. Meanwhile, Monza has dropped back to the bottom of the standings, which not only ruins their chances this season, but is also causing major issues for the future. First, Tiziwalu turned them down, and now even Anderson has decided against joining the club. In Poland, the match between Lublin and Project Warsaw stood out on its own. I could never have imagined it would turn out the way it did. First, I was surprised that Lublin, after turning around the end of the first set, was leading 2-0. Then I was shocked to see them lose control in the end of the third set, allowing the guests to start believing in a comeback. And finally, Lublin couldn't even hold onto a 3-point lead or take advantage of a match point in the tiebreaker to secure the win. As a result, it was a 3-2 away win for Warsaw. Another surprising outcome came in the match between Jaszewski and Skra. If I'm not mistaken, the visitors hadn't won against any top 8 teams this season, but here they were, going up against the leader and reigning champions. Skra pulled off a very important win, both from a tournament and psychological perspective. Meanwhile, the hosts no longer have that comfortable cushion from teams below them in the standings. The results of all the matches from the past week in Poland are now on your screens. What's even more surprising is that the most motivated teams this week were the ones at the bottom of the standings, all of whom grabbed wins. It'll be interesting to see if Benzin can pull off a win over Zaksa today. It was an interesting weekend of games in Japan. Everyone was looking forward to the battle for the second spot in the standings between Sunbirds and Wolf Dogs. And I'll be honest, I wasn't prepared for Nimir to help his team win against the Japanese champions twice, scoring 36 points in each match. This diagonal is absolutely insane. These matches definitely lived up to expectations, but the bitter taste was left only for the Sunbirds fans, with 2 away wins for the Wolf Dogs. Meanwhile, Stings still can't find their rhythm. In Sunday's match, they lost to the worst team in the league, and it was a 0-3 defeat. This marked Vorias' 3rd win in 28 matches. On the flip side, Blazers are on a great run, winning 2 straight 3-0 victories over Tridents, which helped them finally break into the long-awaited playoff zone. Thunders made room for them in the top 6. They traded wins with Great Bears, but even their 4 points from the 2 matches weren't enough to stay in the playoff spots. The results of all the games from this weekend in Japan are now on your screens. Blution has had a while since their last meeting with the closest competitors, so they've built up a solid lead. Meanwhile, Wolf Dogs have overtaken Sunbirds for the 2nd spot and are now closer to a direct semi-final berth. The regular season has resumed in Brazil, and over the last couple of rounds, teams have already played 2 sets rich in tie-breaks. All 10 possible sets were played by São José players, but unfortunately for them, they lost both matches, one to Joinville and the other to Guarulhos. The most exciting match of the week was the battle between Sada Cruzeiro and Ceci. In 2 parts of the game, both teams scored 30 points. But the victory, just like in the first round, went to Cruzeiro with a 3-2 score. However, this euphoria for the Club World Championship winners didn't last long. Joinville, at home, proved that their Copa Brazil victory was no fluke, and they confidently beat Sada Cruzeiro in 4 sets. It was a great chance for Minas to close the gap with the leader, but Volley Renata had their own tournament objectives. In a hotly contested 5-set battle, they came out victorious. Now, the results of all the matches from the last 7 days in the Brazilian Superliga are available on your screens. Joinville, not so long ago near the relegation zone, now sits in 7th place in the standings. But remembering last season, what happens in the regular season really doesn't matter that much in the run-up to the upcoming playoffs. In Turkey, just like in Brazil, 2 rounds have passed, but there's not much to highlight here. One point worth mentioning is Arkaspor, who managed to beat Galatasaray at home, seemingly increasing their chances of making it into the playoffs. However, they then lost points in an away match against Alanya, which allowed Fenerbahce to solidify their position in 5th place in the standings. You can check the results of the latest week's matches in Turkey right now. There haven't been any significant changes in the table. The fight for 4th place is getting more and more intense. It's also worth noting Istanbul, who have now won 4 matches in a row and are closing in on 8th place. And so our news video is coming to an end, and I really hope you've already liked the video and subscribed to the channel. For continued productivity, I need your activity on the video. I urgently need an energy boost from you. As always, it was Nick with you. Love what you do and you'll definitely succeed. See you soon. Bye!